as an additional insured on a policy. And so what does that mean? Okay, it can take the form of a bunch of different things. I'm going to go over a couple things. The most common, if you ask to be named as an additional insured, a lot of people will have on their policy, and you may even have this on your policy. It's called a blanket additional insured endorsement, especially if you're a contractor. It's an automatic status for other parties when required in written construction agreement. It's a CG 2038. Some insurance carriers have their own forms. Erie actually has their own form, but most companies use the CG 2038 form. We like this form a lot, and the reason for it is it does two things. One, it gives you, who's asking for the additional insured, coverage as long as the organization and you and the insured have agreed in writing in a contract or agreement. So if you have an agreement in writing that they are going to name you as an additional insured, it's automatic. So don't get caught up into whether the additional insured status is showing up on the certificate or not. If you're not showing up here, again, if you look at my previous ones, the certificate's absolutely worthless. So don't get caught up in that. What you want to see is the form. Do you really have this form? And do you have an agreement in place in writing? Okay. The other reason we like this is it doesn't limit it to a certain job site or to a specific job. It's whatever your contract is in writing. So for each contract, if you do a lot of work with someone, for each job that they do, each contract that you have, it's automatic. There's no paperwork. You know nothing's going to slip through the cracks. The other thing is if you're a GC, the guy that you're building the house for, constructing the building for, or the city, a lot of times they'll require you to name them as additional insured. And if you see it with the wording in number 2 here, it's any person or any other person or organization you are required to add as additional insured. So a lot of times the contracts that I'll see will say that the additional insured is required to be the general contractor plus the architect, the engineer, the owner of the property, and anyone else who's even looked at it. Just kidding. But sometimes that comes into play. So we like this one because it gives that additional insured status. There are other ones that, like this one here, it's CG 2033, but it only gives automatic status for any personal organization for whom you are performing operations. Okay, so it's only the people that you are performing operations for, so that the owner of the project, the architect, the engineer, none of them get additional insured status if you use the 2033 form. You need to know this. Again, when we go back, these certificates are worthless. If it says additional insured, that's fine and dandy, but who is the additional insured? Is it just you? Is it the owner? You need to know about that because this is your business that's on the line. Okay, the next one we run across is additional insured owners, contractors, lessees, or contractors' completed operations. It's CG 2037. This is a nice one to have if you're a contractor because the additional insured coverage only gives premises liability. So if someone's injured at the job site, it's additional insured. But after that, the GC leaves, there's no additional insured status. It's gone. Okay, this 2037 gives that, and after that contractor leaves the job, if something happens that causes you to get sued because of their actions. The 2038 form is blanket, so they pay for it one time and they can have as many as they want. They don't get charged each and every time there's a certificate sent out and someone's named additional insured. The 2037, there's a charge each time this is done. So keep that in mind, because if you're the GC and you want this done, it's going to cost your subs a little bit of money for that. So bear that in mind when asking. Okay. The 2010, this is a listed additional insured. If you just tell someone, hey, I want to be named additional insured, but you don't have anything in writing, if it's not in writing, you're not an additional insured under this form. So either have something in writing or make them do this. If they do this, then you're actually going to be listed on there. They're either going to schedule a person or organization, and they're going to cover the location. So for every location that someone does work for you, they're going to have to name those locations in order to have coverage afforded under this policy. Okay, that's why we like the 2038 better, because as long as you have a written contract, it's going to give the additional insured coverage and everybody's happy. The funny thing is, with most carriers, the 2038 is about the same price as the 2010, so it's get much better value for your money on that 2038. If you're not in construction, then you're generally going to have this: additional insured designated persons or organizations. And this endorsement is, again, not in construction, and you're just going to designate a person. Notice there's no job location or anything like that. You're just saying, hey, we're going to name the Bob Smith Company or whoever is additional insured, and they need to be listed here. Okay, it has to be listed. Again, anytime you list something on a policy, that's probably going to be a charge. That's why I like those blanket ones as well. There's also a form that gives additional insured for the owner of a building. Most policies cover that automatically. So if you're renting a building and the landlord says, hey, I want to be named as an additional insured, check. You probably have blanket additional insured for that. It's not a construction contract, it's a different form, but a lot of companies throw that in. There's no additional charge there. But if they're actually wanting to be named and listed on the policy, then there can be a charge. The thing is that the two things that we get across is, one, the person who's asking for their certificate usually doesn't even know what they're asking for, and number two, all they're looking for, or they're asking for additional insured, they don't know what they're actually asking for, because it's someone that just is pushing some paper trying to match things up. And the other thing we get is the certificate. They want everything listed on this certificate. And again, go back and watch my video on why certificates are worthless, but don't worry about this so much. The only thing you need to know about here is the policy number and effective dates and limits. Anything else, you need to make sure you have copies of the endorsement. So if you ask someone to name you as additional insured, they say, sure, no problem. You say, hey, have them send me a copy of the endorsement as well. It's easily done. Most companies are paperless nowadays. They can scan it and email it. It's sitting on your same email file with that. If anything comes up, you can pull it. If nothing comes up, you never even have to print it, but at least you know it's there and you can protect yourself. A good rule of thumb is do not let a sub on your job site, or do not pay whoever has required it until they get you that certificate. Because you're going to get charged if they don't have a certificate, they don't have coverage, and you could even be in a worse situation where you get sued and not have as much protection as you thought if they do something to get you sued and you don't have the additional insured status. As always, feel free to call us anytime you want. Our office number is 423-292-4142. You can find us on the web at veritasrm.com or shoot us an email at help@veritasrm.com. Thanks.